All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here today, Monday afternoon, lunchtime. We hope that you have a snack handy, grab some food, and will enjoy the presentations that you're about to hear. There is also an interactive element to today's presentation. So at the end, you'll have plenty of time to ask questions during a Q&A session. So just to introduce briefly, thank you very much for coming on board to the first WWF Living Planet Campus event, a new sustainability engagement program for our community. We're very happy at ForSpace to be hosting this event and some that will follow in the coming months as well. So in ForSpace, we activate research and teaching and initiatives through various activities. And what I'll do is pop our social media links into the chat so that you can familiarize yourself with our activities if you're interested and follow along with what's coming up in the coming weeks. I will let the organizers tell you more about today's event proper and introduce the folks who are joining us here today. But I just wanted to let you know that we are recording today's event. So if you've missed it, it's going to be on our YouTube channel. We'll put the link in the chat in a minute. We are also live streaming to Facebook at CU Fourth Space, so you can share the event there, follow along there. We invite you to activate the Q&A today with any questions that you have. So feel free to type them out. And Cassandra Lamontagne, who's with us here today, will be acting as our moderator, helping out during the question period. You can also make any comments in the chat if you're more comfortable with the chat function. But if you have really questions that you'd like our guest to address, we ask that you use the Q&A, as well as maybe using your audio. If you're comfortable doing that, you can raise your virtual hand and unmute yourself and ask your question that way towards the end of the hour. So on this note, I'm passing things over to you, Cassandra. Welcome.
Great, thank you so much, Anna. So I am Cassandra Lamontagne. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator in Concordia's Office of Sustainability. And I'm very pleased that we have Sarah Abarro joining us today from WWF-Canada. Thank you, Sarah. Before going any further, I would just like to begin by acknowledging that Concordia University is located on unceded Indigenous lands. And the Kanien'kehá:ka Nation is recognized as the custodians of the lands and waters on which we gather today, or at least which I am gathering on today and which Concordia is sitting today. And Tiohtià:ke, or Montreal, is historically known as a gathering place for many First Nations. Today it is home to a diverse population of Indigenous and other peoples, and we respect the continued connections with the past, present, and future in our ongoing relationships with Indigenous and other peoples within the Montreal community. So just a bit of context here, Concordia joined the Living Planet Campus as a partner in 2020 in order to provide a new avenue for sustainability engagement for our community. And this semester, we're planning a schedule of activities corresponding to the program. So we'll be getting to those a bit later on. And I'd like to just remind our audience here that while this program is pretty much geared towards students in many ways, staff and faculty can register for a Living Planet at Campus account on their website and can be kept in the loop of all our activities that way. And we certainly encourage and invite our staff and faculty to engage in the activities that we're planning for this semester as well. So like Anna said, we encourage you to interact in the chat. And if you have any questions, please put those in the Q&A and we'll be answering those at the end of the presentation. So without any further ado, I'll turn it over to Sarah now. She'll introduce herself and she'll introduce the program to you.
Thank you, Cassandra, and thank you, Anna, as well. And yeah, I'm Sarah Abarro. I've been working at WWF for 2 years now. And my role is to develop our community action programs and to support our volunteers who take part into these programs. And I'm really happy to be with all of you today. And yeah. So if you can see my slides, I can present a bit what we're going to talk about today. So today I'll be sharing WWF-Canada Living Planet Report Canada, our assessment of biodiversity of Canadian species, and dig into how you can create a plan for yourself to contribute to positive changes and get professional experience and recognition for it. And what do we mean by that? We have designed a program and a certification you can receive as a student to build your resume and to support you in helping nature to thrive where you live, learn, and where you will work. So yeah, we'll dive into this and concretely how that can work with in Concordia. So our planet is facing two unprecedented conservation crises today. Climate change is accelerating sea ice loss and worsening wildfires, floods, drought, avalanches, heat waves, and sea level rise. Climate change is decreasing the flow of rivers, eliminating streams altogether, and increasing ocean acidification, threatening marine life. Canada is warming at twice the global average, the Arctic 3 times. Climate change is not a faraway problem, and it's here now, and the consequences are being felt by wildlife and people in Canada and around the world. And very connected to the climate change crisis is the crisis of biodiversity loss. Globally, wildlife are declining at unprecedented rates, and that is true here in Canada as well. Our Living Planet Report Canada 2020, which just came out, reveals that since 2070, population of Canadian species assessed as at risk have declined by an average of 59%. And species assessed as globally at risk have seen their Canadian population fall by an average of 42%. So climate change plus biodiversity loss. So these two crises are very closely interconnected. On one hand, climate change is a significant threat and accelerate biodiversity loss. And conversely, the destruction of nature is actually an accelerator to climate change. So globally, as much as 30% of greenhouse gas emission comes from its destruction, including the destruction of trees, plants, soils, coastlines, and bugs that naturally store carbon. So that's devastating. But in Canada, we are in a very unique position. We are one of the few countries that actually still has some intact and relatively undisturbed ecological areas. So on the map here, you can see it's the dark blue areas. So it gives us an opportunity and perhaps even a responsibility to ensure these areas remain intact. And that is going to mean prioritizing areas for protection, so these areas remain undisturbed. But we also need to restore already degraded habitats, practice stewardship of nature. We need to do this in areas that will yield the greatest benefits for climate change and biodiversity. These solutions are called nature-based solutions. And that means bringing back nature and protecting areas of intact nature. All of this to fight climate change and biodiversity loss. And that's what WWF Canada strategically focuses on the next decade. And I can also add that we believe that Indigenous-led conservation is the most effective, equitable, and efficient way to safeguard the nature that all of us hold dear. Our work has evolved over time to be more inclusive and, where possible, led by Indigenous partners. And we commit to more of this collaboration in the future. And we can ask now, what does that mean for you as an individual? I've said a lot about loss of biodiversity of wildlife, disappearance of species many of us don't see regularly or ever, important intact areas in Canada that you might not reside in, which can make some of us feel pretty powerless and disconnected. What is our connection to these wildlife losses? And what are the individual impacts we can create? And how are we impacting habitats? When I see this slide, it puts it all into context for me as an individual, my contribution, the contribution of a Canadian, that today, if everyone around the world lived like Canadians do globally, we would need 4.7 planets to meet our needs. Our demand on ecological resources has exceeded what nature can meet. We are cutting down trees faster than they can mature, harvesting more fish than our oceans can replenish, and emitting more carbon into the atmosphere than our forests and oceans can absorb. We're over-consuming. And what's amazing about students like you is that you know there are actions that you can take at home during your campus life, things many of you are already doing or are willing to do. These actions benefit you while benefiting nature and the world around you, including the world of workplaces where you'll be going next. Employers across all sectors, whether those sectors are related to the environment or not, they all recognize the need to improve sustainability in their workplace, to engage their employees to take action for nature. Employers are looking for employees who can step up and lead workplace initiatives that help nature thrive. We see it all the time at WWF, workplaces of all scales reaching out to us to help to organize engagement events, etc. Things many of you are already doing or could easily get involved in that will give you experience while you're in university to build your resume and stand out to employers. We are seeing that students from campuses across Canada are taking action in so many different ways workplaces are seeking, from leading cleanups on campus or in the community, leading projects for nature, building new habitat for wildlife on your front stoop. With activities like this, students can gain skills needed to drive sustainability and engagement in your future workplace and include it on your resume. And that's what we've designed with the Living Planet at Campus program, to help you to build your experiences in sustainable actions and get you recognition for it. And we also adapted it to make sure that you can take action, even in this very special situation we're living due to the pandemic. With Living Planet at Campus, you can organize activities and record your impact. So anything from cleanups, for example. Through Living Planet at Campus, you can organize small groups or solo cleanups, stop litter in its tracks before it moves further through our watershed and eventually into the ocean. I know that we have Concordia students who are already taking part of this. We have a volunteer who collected her weight in trash in December, going regularly outside, cleaning up the streets. She registered her data in our national database with the details of what kind of litter she collected, the distance she cleaned, etc. And when volunteers feed this database, it's then used to inform the work of scientists or to help the government take decisions. For example, Justin Trudeau used our database to inform his decision to ban single-use plastics. So even if we can't organize big cleanups on campus this year or for now, we can still have an impact doing those kinds of activities. Through Living Planet at Campus, you can also create container gardens that act as corridor for wildlife to move between. This one is a direct action you can take to support local wildlife. Even if you can only take action on your balcony for now, I know that Cassandra is also preparing something for you to take action with Concordia as well. So we'll talk about it a bit later. I just want to talk about other activities like Earth Hour, for example. Through Living Planet at Campus, you can also join a global community and inspiring others to switch off for our Earth Hour. As we are at home a lot these days, I think it's also a good opportunity to stay connected even if we're not physically together. It can also have even a bigger impact than previous years as we are all at home, well, alone, let's say. So let's keep being creative this year. And it's also an activity that is really popular in workplaces as well. So it can also be really interesting to talk about that when you're in an interview, for example. So the Go Wild School grants. Our program also gives students, staff, and faculty the chance to kickstart their own projects for nature with the help of a $1,000 grant. We've seen bee apiaries, for example, rooftop pollinator gardens, expansion of arboretums, cleanups campaign, nature-based solution workshops, native plant gardens, and more through those grants. And I'm proud to say that Concordia received a grant this year. So congratulations, and I'll also let her go through this in a bit. By participating in these activities during your post-secondary and activities available on your campus with other organizations, you can get credit and recognition for your involvement with WWF Living Planet Leader certification. Whether you're in your first year or your final year, this is a great opportunity to build your resume with practical experience that can directly translate into the workplace. You can set yourself apart with this certification. Students will be listed as Living Planet Leader. First, I wanted to show you this slide because it's also something that you can put on your LinkedIn account, and that can build also your resume. And students will be listed as Living Planet Leaders on our website, further substantiating to employers that you have the skills and experience to practice sustainability in the workplace and help build a more sustainable future as you have completed requirements in. But you can wonder, how does that work? So we have 4 categories. We built this framework with post-secondary institutions who work closely with employers, and we built this with an understanding of what employers are looking for and what we need to do to help thrive nature. To help nature thrive, sorry. So let's skim into these 4 categories. First, students can count activities completing starting from your first post-secondary program until 3 months after graduating from your final post-secondary program. For those of you completing your master's, you can count actions you've taken starting from undergrad or any post-secondary program you completed before that. And given your interest to the environment, you likely have some of the requirements already, or you can use your interest to create a plan to complete it. So let's dig into these categories. So first, volunteerism in sustainability. Individuals who can bring volunteerism into their organization are invaluable to leadership and the company. This can be done through starting environmental committees or working with a local not-for-profit with your colleagues for a volunteer day, using your technical expertise and skills working on a longer-term project that benefits a cause-based organization. And more, volunteer experience on resumes is important to employers, demonstrating skills in leadership and teamwork, organization, time management, managing many priorities, and intangible soft skills in improving the workplace environment. This section can now be the most difficult to complete due to the pandemic, but we're making sure that it is possible with the activities that I talked about a bit previously, for example, and Cassandra will also give you ideas to engage and volunteer. When it comes to personal application of sustainability, we want our Living Planet leaders to walk the talk, practicing environmental sustainability in your day-to-day. For example, bring my own bags, use reusable containers for packed lunch, pour down my computer and appliances at home, hang clothing to dry, turn off the lights at home, etc. While these actions might seem very simplified, you might think, are people really not doing some of these things now? The answer, unfortunately, is yes. Many people are still bringing plastic bags, using throwaway cups, etc. And a lot of us are guilty about this as well. So it's important to shine a light on this simple yet profoundly important actions because they speak to behaviors and consciousness toward the environment. When you're filling the requirements online, you should wonder which actions you find particularly easy to incorporate into a daily behavior, which ones are a bit tricky. What are the way you can remind yourselves to keep doing them, and things like that. When it comes to application of sustainability in academics, we want to make sure that all students, no matter what they're studying, get the chance to learn about the environment and critically think about how their area of study can incorporate sustainability. So yeah, what programs are you studying? You can share with us in the chat. I would be really curious to see that. For these requirements, students can complete this requirement by taking a course in environment or applying sustainability to an existing course. While this exercise might be very straightforward in your area of study, think about the importance of this question for areas of study that are not traditionally related to sustainability. Performing arts, for example, visual arts, culinary, math. How incredible would it be if every student did this thought exercise and carried it out with them at school and in their future jobs? This is one of my favorite questions to ask students. I met a film student who shared that in her industry could be made more sustainable by reusing more film set or by using more sustainable sourced materials to create video film. An architecture student has shared that they could design more green buildings or enforce more green building requirements. A visual art student shared that they will use sustainably sourced materials for their next art installation project. For the last category, leadership and teamwork, we're sure for most of you it's a no-brainer that leadership experiences for your professional resume are very important, and it is. What are good qualities of a leader? It's not just about being the point person for a project or the presenter for a large pitch. Leadership also requires the ability to delegate, to influence, to challenge viewpoints respectfully, to empathize with others, and to listen. Take a moment to reflect on experiences you have or you will have in leadership or in teamwork related to sustainability or conservation. This could be through a student campus club, helping to lead an event, project or initiative related to sustainability, or think about a time when you were a part of a team that delivered an awesome project or that had a really great outcome. How did you show leadership in helping to achieve that outcome? So with Living Planet Leader, we and your campus through the Sustainability Office and Cassandra is looking to support you in building your resume as you help nature to thrive. To complete Living Planet Leader before you graduate, you will complete 40 hours of volunteerism. You will take a course in sustainability or apply sustainability to a course. Complete 40 day-to-day sustainable actions of our checklist, and complete one experience in leadership and teamwork. Many of you will see that you've already taken major steps towards completing the certification. And if you spend time reflecting on ways you can achieve the category requirements, maybe you'll see that you're actually almost done without even realizing it. And some of you may feel overwhelmed or that you have a lot of actions left to complete. And both situations are definitely fine. And we are here to support you through your journey. So we have designed the Living Planet Leaders designation for student success, student leadership, something that you can carry through with you into the workplace. So why should you consider becoming a Living Planet Leader? First, I won't repeat it again, for the planet. Also because employers value a lot of being a leader in sustainability. They also value a lot WWF and our conservation expertise. And we collaborated with universities and colleges to build Living Planet Leader and to deliver it to campuses. And these are institutions that work closely with future employers who receive feedback from employers on what they're looking for from prospective employees. So yeah, build your resume, and there is really a value to start building it now. So you can use the activities offered on Living Planet at campus to complete the requirements, but you can also use environmental activities offered by your campus. And you can use opportunities offered in your community and other organizations. So now I'm going to pass it over to Cassandra so that she can share a bit more concrete into the presentation. I think you're on mute.
I was. Thank you so much, Sarah. If you go on to the next slide. Here we are. So a reminder to all of you, if you have questions, to share those in the Q&A. And now that we have an idea from Sarah of what Living Planet at Campus is and what becoming a Living Planet leader means, we can talk a bit about what this looks like for your time at Concordia. So we have three main avenues at Concordia for getting involved in the program. The first one, next slide, Sarah, would be supporting members to initiate any of these community Living Planet at Campus activities that Sarah's brought us through. So here you can initiate them, but we'd like to stress that if ever you want to start one of these projects, but you find that maybe you need a bit of help planning them, maybe you're looking for partners to take part in them, or perhaps you need certain permissions to actually implement them at Concordia, you can always go through me at the Office of Sustainability. My contact is at the end of the presentation here, so that we can together figure out how and if your project can be initiated. I also want to stress that you don't need to be pursuing a Living Planet Leader certification to start any of these initiatives at Concordia, and you don't need to be a student. You can actually be a faculty or a staff member who'd like to start these projects. And next slide, Sarah. A good example of that is the Go Wild School grant. So as Sarah mentioned, we've gotten one of these grants just this year. And we partnered in the Office of Sustainability with Facilities Management and with Carly Zeder's Urban Ecology class to apply for this grant. And so the idea was that Carly had her students team up in groups to propose campus gardens that are aligned with our recently launched Sustainability Action Plan. And so this actually also aligns with our campus Sustainability Living Lab program. It could be thought of as our first ever Living Lab project. And with the help of this Go Wild School grant, we're now going to be able to implement the winning project on campus this year. So students designed gardens that are rich in native, biodiverse pollinator species, and we'll be implementing one of those projects together with the help of facilities management this year. So that's an example of a community initiated project, not necessarily implemented by a student, but certainly students are able to apply for these grants as well. Could you go on to the next slide, Sarah? Thanks so much. So here we are. Those were kind of like your community initiative activities, things that you can start planning on your own, but we're also planning a number of activities this semester that you could get involved with as part of the program. So here in January, this is it. It's our introduction to the program. We want you to know what it's all about. And the activities associated with this are very simply to register for a Living Planet at Campus account if you're student, faculty, or staff. And that way you'll be kept in the loop on all of our activities moving forward. And if you are a student and you're interested, you could also register to become a Living Planet leader. And Sarah will talk more about how exactly you do that later on. In February, if you're a student wanting to pursue a Living Planet Leader certification, Sarah and I will be offering a workshop for you to learn more about it and all the ways that you can be involved on campus or at Concordia, as the case is, and so that you can begin planning your Living Planet Leader certification journey. And then in March and April, we're teaming up with 3 of our biology professors. That's Carly Zeder, Rebecca Titler, and Emma Desplan. And they will be giving us a webinar on why our native biodiversity in Montreal matters, and indeed what even is our native biodiversity in Montreal, right? So We will be learning about the importance of the plants and animals that we have in Montreal, the native plants and animals, and then associated activities for that would be a native balcony gardening workshop that you can do at home, as well as an urban biodiversity scavenger hunt. So really encouraging you here to kind of get your hands dirty and kind of take the concepts that you'll be learning in the webinar and really implementing them. And in April, we're teaming up with the Zero Waste Concordia team to have a webinar on waste and our environment. We can talk about why it's important to keep our waterways and our environment clean of waste. And potential activities are going to be a virtual waste sorting workshop, as well as a socially distanced community cleanup. So these are for the semester, and we'll continue to plan and offer activities also throughout the next academic year too. Next slide. And so now getting into the nitty-gritty of becoming a Living Planet leader at Concordia. Sarah's mentioned what you need to do for each of these 4 categories. And I just want to provide a few examples here to show you that it's really quite attainable. There's already a lot of avenues available to you to get these requirements fulfilled at Concordia. So first off, in the campus, community, and global volunteerism, very simply, if you volunteer through the Live Center, you might have some opportunities there that you could relate to sustainability and that you might be able to use towards your certification. So I'm actually going to be putting links in the chat to all of these examples so that you can check them out. Next up, you can also become a student sustainability ambassador. So this is a program through our Office of Sustainability that links our students with sustainability volunteer opportunities. And although the volunteer opportunities are on pause while the campus is closed, we still have a number of training opportunities and a lot of interesting workshops coming up. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out. In terms of the sustainability in academics, you can peruse our list of sustainability courses. So we've actually completed an inventory of sustainability focused courses at Concordia, and I'll put that in the chat here too. And you can basically peruse this course list, and any single one of these courses, if you take them, will fulfill the academics portion of this certification. But as Sarah said, even if you're not taking a sustainability course, if you manage to integrate sustainability content through a project, that will also count towards your certification. And I will answer this question that I see in the chat. If you're not a current student, can you still participate in the Living Planet Leader? You can still take part in the actions, but in order to be a Living Planet Leader, you need to show that you've taken, that you've fulfilled all 4 requirements during your time as a student. And I believe, Sarah, you can submit your proof anytime up to 3 months after graduating, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So if you've graduated within the past 3 months, Lori, you would be able to still apply for the certification. Otherwise, I guess you would have to wait for your next student experience to take part. Here down in terms of personal application of sustainability, I mean, the checklist itself is a great resource. It's a really excellent way to get started. But if you needed help to fulfill some of these, supporting our student food vendors and shops on campus, such as our Hive Solidarity Co-op Cafe or the Solidarity Co-op Bookstore, or even using our Center for Creative Reuse would certainly help you to check some of those items off your checklist. And taking part in our gardening workshop and our campus cleanup would also be some of the items that you could check off your list there. And the final category, student leadership and teamwork. You can initiate one of those WWF activities that we outlined earlier, and that would certainly be a leadership experience for you, and that would help you fulfill your requirements. But even just joining the board of a student sustainability group is a great leadership experience. And what I'm going to do is list in the chat our student sustainability initiatives. And every year they're looking for people to join their board, to join their team, to take part in their annual general meetings. So there are really plenty of awesome ways to get involved there too. And before moving on from this, I want to stress that we want you to be recognized by WWF-Canada, but we also want you to be recognized internally at Concordia for your efforts. So all your activities that you do towards your Living Planet Leader certification, you can also claim on your co-curricular record at Concordia. So we've created a position on the CCR called Living Planet Leader. And anything that you do towards your certification, you can also claim hours there. And yeah, if you want more information on how this works at Concordia, you can join the February workshop and we'll go into more detail there for sure. So now that you're all hopefully excited about this and ready to get going, Sarah is going to take you through the steps of registering as a Living Planet Leader.
Thank you, Cassandra. Yeah, so how does it work? So you go into this website, campus.wwf.ca, and you can register your own account on this website. Then you will have access to your dashboard. Here you can register all the activities I talked to you about, and one of them is Living Planet Leader. So you can click and register your activities. Here you have your dashboard for Living Planet Leader, and you can see here the percentages of achievement. So you can click on each category and submit your requirements. For example, here it's how you can submit one of the requirements. So here it's for sustainability in a course. So you can see here, I've applied to sustainability to an existing course or not. And then you can put the detail. Here it's the list of the day-to-day actions you can take. So if you didn't see exactly how it would look like, it's there. So for example, bring my own mugs, and you can explain in 2-3 sentences how it makes sense for you. And everything is sent to us, and we are the one who approve or not the requirements. So thank you very much to everyone to be here with us today, and we have time for some questions. So yeah.
Great, so we do have a few questions. I've just answered one that was just about what are the conditions, and I just reiterated what you said earlier. Lena, who asked the question, if this response doesn't fulfill or doesn't respond to your question, just let us know. We also have a question here from Trevor Smith, who's asking about whether or not we're actually going to be bridging sustainable initiatives to actors outside of Concordia as part of this program. And I can answer that, yes, this is something we're planning on. We don't have anything planned for this semester, but we are thinking about community initiatives that we can bring into this program. A really good example is the Incredible Edibles project that takes place in NDG, where community members initiate campus gardens all throughout NDG. And I was recently talking with our biology professors about how great it would be to get our students volunteering with them and fulfilling the requirements of the Living Planet Leader that way. So that's one example, and we're going to be looking for other partnerships as well. And then here from Tanya, if I'm not currently in Canada, but I'm taking part in different projects, would they count for the volunteering part? Would you be able to respond to that, Sarah?
That's a great question. Yes, I think it could work, because as long as you are a student during when you are doing these activities, I think it can work. So yeah, don't hesitate to register and to submit your actions.
Okay, great. And I encourage all of you watching, if you have any questions, to use the Q&A. That being said, we have a few little questions that popped up in the chat, so I'll go to those now. We have from Sevda, is it okay to register and to try to fulfill the requirements? Are we obliged to complete them all once we register?
No, you can definitely go as fast as you need to complete everything. And if you don't complete everything, you won't have the certification. But I think it's still great to register your activities and to register your impact, so that you can also see where that you take part in a bigger impact that all students in Canada are taking part of. So I think it's also really motivating for everyone.
Great. Okay, we have a few more in the Q&A, but we've got one here in chat. So can undergraduate participate too?
Definitely.
And I think the answer there is yeah, undergraduate, graduate students. And I think what Sarah said earlier is even if you're a graduate student, you can use your experience in your undergrad to fulfill your requirements. So it's really a continuous process.
Yeah, definitely. For example, you can start with what you've done during CEGEP, and then you can go until the day and even 3 months after you're graduating. So, yeah.
Lovely. From an anonymous attendee, does it work on a trust-based submission, or will we need to post evidence? For example, will we need to post pictures, videos? That's a great question.
That's a great question. So as I said, every submission is going through us, the WWF team, and through Cassandra. Like if we have any question, and if we are, if, for example, you're mentioning a class, we are asking you to put the email address of your teacher, for example. And it's always for us to make sure that what you've done is really done. And yeah, and also send us pictures, and everything you can is best.
Okay, great. Somebody's attending their course outside of Canada for 4 months. Can they still register now and start their certification journey?
Sorry, you just froze for a second for me. Can you repeat the question?
Oh, sorry, I probably froze for everyone. So from Saeed, I'm attending my courses from outside of Canada and I'll be there for 4 months. Can I register now?
Are you part of a Canadian institution?
I think what Saeed is saying is that they're actually fulfilling right now the Concordia courses, taking Concordia courses from outside of Canada. If that's the case, can they register now?
Yeah.
And start fulfilling
as long as
the
you are
requirements?
a student in Concordia or in a Canadian institution, it works.
Okay, lovely. Yeah, because there's still plenty of things that can be done remotely.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Similar type question from Megan. If I have transferred from a different university in Canada, am I able to use projects that I have done previously?
Definitely. And also, as I said, like you can register for any activities you've done during your student period. So it can be with Concordia, it can be with previous institutions you were in before, as long as it's post-secondary institutions.
Okay, lovely. And this is a great question. Will Dr. Zeder's class, Ecology of Urban Environment, be added to the list of sustainability courses as it isn't currently present? Yes, we are always looking to improve our course list. The inventory process is necessarily a bit of a flawed, incomplete process. So we're always looking for people who can look through the course list and remind us of courses that are missing. So thank you for that, Ariane, and I will be adding that right after this. Okay. So from Astrid, can we join in on WWF projects that are already going on, like the ones listed on the website?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So basically, Astrid, we have some scheduled projects that will be happening this semester that you can absolutely join. And the WWF projects that are listed on the website that Sarah showed are those that you can initiate. So they're not already going on in any sense of the word. Although if you want, if that doesn't answer your question, and if there's a website that you want us to look at, you can put that in the Q&A. Okay, so that answers the question then for Astrid. And as a first-year undergrad student, how do we gain volunteering experience in university activities during COVID? And when should we register for this WWF leadership experience?
I can start by saying you can register right now and you can complete the requirements as long as you are a student. So you can take your time for this. And yeah, I would even advise to do that now, because if you're like reminded in 2 years that you have all the requirements filled, but like you didn't put anything on the website, it's going to take a lot of time for you to do that. So if you do that time to time, it may be better. Maybe Cassandra, I can let you answer the second part of the question.
Yeah, so in terms of COVID, absolutely, we're not going to be taking part in any activities that violate the regulations from Quebec and from Concordia. So any activities that do take place this semester while the campus is closed will be remote activities, or if we get a green light to do a socially distanced cleanup in person, we will be trying for that. If we don't get the green light, we will be doing remote cleanups where our community members will individually be taking on this cleanup responsibility, and we'll be auditing, and we will be compiling our information together. So we're finding ways to get the program running even under COVID. And certainly the items that Sarah mentioned earlier, taking a sustainability course, of course, can be done remotely. Fulfilling your personal responsibilities and checking items off your checklist of personal sustainability actions. There's so many ways that you can still get started. So definitely, I also encourage you to register early and to start checking things off. Can we have the link for registration again? So I'll just do a little copy paste of the link into the chat here, but we'll be sending this recording and we'll be sending all the resources that we've mentioned along with this recording. So the links and your next steps will be sent to you as participants in this webinar. So look out for that in the next 24 hours or so, and you should be getting that to your inbox. From Saeed, are there scheduled activities by you for those who are registered to gather in a specific date time and participate in a group activity like cleaning up? Yeah, absolutely. So as I was saying, our really big hope is that it will be safe enough and possible to have a socially distanced, masked, gloved community cleanup in April with the help of our Zero Waste Concordia team. And that we are going to be able to collect some waste, to audit it, to measure it, and then to submit it to the WWF database that Sarah mentioned. So there's always the possibility for you to organize your own little cleanup if it's safe under the current regulations. But yeah, at Concordia, we're hoping to be able to organize one for our WWF participants. And as a first-year undergrad, how do we gain volunteering experience in university activities during COVID? Oh, okay, so I think we answered this. Yeah. So that is all the questions that we've had so far. Is there anything else, Sarah, that you would want participants to know, or any other commonly asked questions that you get that you'd want to answer at this time?
I think I can just share my screen again, just to share our contact information if anyone has any question. Okay. You can feel free to contact us by email if you're too shy to ask your question in the chat, or if you have questions after you're registered on the website and things like that.
Right, and like I said, if ever you're thinking about starting one of these WWF activities, such as an Earth Hour activity or a in the zone planting activity, the in the zone planting activity can take place at your own home. But if once we open campus and you're thinking, I'd like to do something on campus, this is a very common question that we get, and we're trying to organize a way for our campus planting enthusiasts to have a good way to move forward. So you can always just contact me at the Office of Sustainability to know if there are ways for you to get your activity rolling at Concordia. and yes, a lot of these will unfortunately have to wait until our campus opens, but like we've outlined, there's still a lot you can do remotely too. So I guess, should we wait to see if there's any stragglers who still want to ask a few questions, and then maybe we'll close it down a couple minutes early?
Yeah, sure.
So I'm seeing a lot of excitement from the audience. That's great. And I wonder, Sarah, maybe you could even talk about, while we're waiting for new questions to come in, maybe you could even talk a little bit about why WWF Canada really thought of and conceptualized of this, because it's quite new still.
Yeah, we created the pilot project in 2017 with campuses in Ontario. And we really built all the activities with students and the campuses to make sure that it's related to the reality of the campuses, to the skills that students wanted to develop, and what would make sense as well for their professional life as well. So yeah, the idea is really to, as a lot of students are already doing amazing things, we really wanted to recognize all these skills and efforts through this certification. And we also wanted to give ideas and to give tools for everyone who wanted to act and to take action for the planet and didn't really know where to start. So yeah.
Yeah, and how many Concordians are registered under the Living Planet at campus right now?
I think we have, I think it was 170 or something like that, or 180. Yeah.
That's great. And we're probably going to get maybe another 40 people from today. So
Yeah,
that's great. And we do have a new question that's come in, which is a really great question. Is there a group or a page that we can join with other students taking part in this program? I don't believe there's a function for that yet through the website.
We usually send a newsletter to students who are registered on the website, so that you have information on the news for each activity and things like that. We don't have a specific social media though. You can also follow WWF on social media if you want, because we also share news from the program there. But yeah.
So maybe at Concordia, this is something that we can create through my office so that there's a bit of a forum for students who want to chat about how it's going.
Definitely.
Set up a Discord. Okay, good idea, Brianna. Yeah, so that's great interaction, and that way people can get in touch with each other to start projects. That's a very good idea. So thanks for that, Megan. So if that's about it for questions, I guess we could wrap it up, and Anna will come in and close us off. And I just want to say thank you again, Sarah, for joining us.
Yeah, and thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very happy to have started to meet the students and everyone who took part in this webinar. So I'm really looking forward to all these next activities and yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Sarah, for your time today. And Cassandra, as always, it's a pleasure to work with you. Did an amazing job moderating all those questions in the chat in the webinar. All of the attendees, we really appreciate your participation today. And thank you so much for keeping the questions going throughout. That was great. I think we all learned a lot in today's session. We look forward to continued kind of success and development in these projects and continued webinars or these kind of workshops that Cassandra already mentioned earlier today. I will just reiterate what Cassandra said earlier, that we will be following up to everyone who registered for this workshop, whether you attended here today or ended up having to be elsewhere. We'll send you an email with all the resources that were mentioned, a recording of this session, so you can reference it later in your own time, and any kind of websites, etc., that Cassandra and Sarah wanted to share with you today. So look out for that in your mailbox or your inbox, I should say. And I guess on that note, I will thank you all once again for being here and wish you a very good lunchtimes. Bon appetit to everyone. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks. So we're going to close the webinar now. So thanks again. Thanks for all your comments. Have a great afternoon. Bye.